this video is going to be on how I passed my NASM exam. There's a lot of videos out there that do have really good advice in them. Some are focused on how to pass it quick, which I don't agree with. I feel like when you're trying to invest in something and when you're trying to become something like a personal trainer, you really need to put in the time and take your time and learn it. So this video won't be on how to pass your NASM exam in 2 months or 1 month. This is just how to pass your NASM exam and actually learn it and then utilize it in the real world. So first, I did the self-study plan. It's 21 modules and you can access that online, and you can purchase the book if you want. I purchased the book. I think it was like $3 extra a month on the monthly payment plan. And basically I just followed the modules and the chapters. So it's the same thing. Module 1 is chapter 1, module 2 is chapter 2. And I just went down and through everything. I read everything in module 1, so everything in the chapter. And while doing that, I took notes. Just dropped everything. Okay. I took notes while I read the chapters. So I was a real big nerd in school, and I was always that kid writing notes when you didn't need to. But I would go through each chapter and write down what I felt was the most important things in that chapter to know. I went a little overboard with this. You don't have to take as thorough notes as I did, but this really helps me because as I read, as I write, I remember. It's just helps me remember what I'm reading, and then I can go back and think about what I felt I may struggle with the most and struggle with learning. So I recommend doing that. If you're not a big note taker, then highlight the book, underline things, whatever you think you're going to have to study the most, because then when you go back to study before your test, which is what I did, I read every chapter, every module, I watched every video, and before I tested, I went back and looked through all my notes and restudied each chapter. So that will help when you have to go back and study. If you highlight things, if you write things down, if you underline things, that'll really help you remember what you thought was most important, and what you thought you needed to work on. So yes, there are videos online. I watched every video maybe twice, and they come with a little transcript, which is nice because if you struggle with watching something and then taking it, you can read it too as you go along. So the videos, I typically watch them after I read the chapter, and then sometimes I would watch them while I was doing cardio. Boring, but that's how I got through it. So I really took my time. I think I took from August or July to July to December. So July, August, September, October, November, 5 months. I took 5 months to really study and really, really learn the information. My biggest piece of advice would be for like chapters 1 through 5 really focus on. It's not a big portion of the test, well, it wasn't for me, but those are what you're really gonna need in the real world. Human movement science. What else was there? Yes, so section 1, this is chapter 1 through 5, it's the fundamentals of human movement science. So it's the scientific rationale for integrated training, basic exercise science, cardiorespiratory system, exercise metabolism and bioenergetics, and human movement science. So those I thought were really important because I'm not, I studied business in college. I took one biology course. I've never really studied anatomy. So those were important to me, actually learning how the body works and how our human system functions. Because to me that's really important. When you're training someone, you need to know how the body works, how it produces energy and all of that. So it wasn't a big portion on the test, but I do recommend really focusing on that and taking your time learning that, because as a personal trainer, you need to know what's best for your client. And if you don't know the way their body's working, then you don't really know what to tell them to do. I know that's kind of like simple terms, but it's true. If you don't know the way something functions and works, you can't fix it. You can't be the one to say, oh, that car's not running right, let me fix it, when you don't know anything about the inside of the car and how it actually functions. Same thing with the human body. Section 2, they call it. It's the assessments, training concepts, and program design. So fitness assessment, flexibility training concepts, cardiorespiratory, core training, balance training, plyometrics, speed, agility, quickness, resistance training, the OPT model, which I'll get into later, and chronic health conditions and physical or functional limitations. Important if you have been doing fitness for a while, if you've been in the industry for a while, very easy section for you to learn, because it's really just about exercise, like movements, program training, program design. It's just easier if you've been doing it. If you haven't, definitely study that. Biggest part of this section is the OPT model. It is the test. The test is based off of the OPT model. It's very easy to learn, but it's also very hard to confuse. So make sure you take your time studying the OPT model. So this is the OPT model. I don't know if you can see it, but it starts with stabilization, strength, and then power training. So that's how NASM does it. NASM starts in the stabilization phase, then they move to the strength phase, then they move to the power phase. That's how they want to train people, so that's how you're going to have to learn it this way. I agree with their way of training people. Some people might not, but very important to learn each step in that model, each phase, everything involved in that model, because the test is portioned around that model. So definitely study the OPT model. The fitness assessment part of it, which is the overhead squat assessment and determining what parts of the body might be out of whack, I'd say. I forget what terms they've used, but basically trying to determine where the body might lack in certain flexibilities and strengths, and if there's something wrong with a part of the body. So I'm getting there now. Okay, so it's really studying the posture of a human. So the overhead squat assessment is basically when someone puts their hands up and they go into a squat position. And you're going to be looking at 3 different angles: lateral, front, no, it's 2 different angles. I'm surprised I passed the exam. So you're looking from the lateral side view and the frontal view. In the frontal view, you want to look for if the knees turn out, if they cave in, feet turn out, feet turn in, anything with like knees and below in the frontal view. Then the side, you're looking at whether the body moves forward. Okay, I switched to my phone because my camera wanted to be a pain in the ass, die, and not have enough memory. So we're on my phone now. But what I was saying was, the overhead squat assessment, you're looking from the lateral view and the frontal view. And you're determining what muscles are overactive or underactive. So my best advice is making like there's a whole graph of checkpoints. So this is the checkpoint graph. This is something you need to know. This is crucial on the test. If you don't know this, you will not pass. So that's very crucial part. My way of learning it was making I think it's acronyms, I believe it's called. So like for the overhead squat assessment, if you're looking at the lateral view and there's an excessive forward lean, it means that the soleus, the gastrocnemius, hip flexor complex, abdominal complex are overactive, and then the underactive muscles are anterior tibialis, gluteus maximus, and erector spinae. So what I would do is I would create an acronym off of like the overactive muscles. I think my acronym for the overactive lean, so the excessive forward lean, I stole this one from JoJo. It's HAGS, so like HAGS age, so like an old person. So like HAGS as the arms fall forward, excessive forward lean, so you're old, you're hunching over. HAGS age. So that was a good one from her that I stole. I made for the overactive muscles have enough lax, so hip flexor complex, erector spinae, and latissimus dorsi are the overactive muscles, and then the underactive muscles are get, heat, and ice. So gluteus maximus, hamstring complex, intrinsic core stabilizers. So acronyms are very important. It'll help you on the test when you see what's the overactive muscle when your low back arches and you're like, oh, I know this, have enough lax. It's either hip flexor complex, erector spinae, or latissimus dorsi, and then you pick whatever one is in the multiple choice. So that's very, very important, crucial part of the test. Another thing that I did that really helped me was I really studied the muscles. I've never taken an anatomy test or anything, so I printed this from the online site that you have access to, and I just studied it. I mean, I didn't really try to memorize it, but I looked at it occasionally. I looked at it when I was doing cardio. I looked at it before bed. I looked at it when I woke up. Just because if you're not specialized in that, it's like when they're talking about certain things and you're like, wait, what body part is that? It's nice to have that, and especially, I mean, moving forward, the ultimate goal is not to just pass the test. The goal is to pass the test and understand the info that you learned. So definitely do yourself a favor and study the muscles, because it's going to be crucial when you actually start being a personal trainer. So section 3 is nutrition and supplementation. If you do nutrition, like if you're constantly tracking your macros, you're A-okay. There's like barely any information. Well, on my test, I barely got any questions on that. And then the client interaction, professional development, very important. Make sure you know how to interact with the client. Make sure you know how to professionally develop yourself. They will ask questions on the quiz or on the test for that. Yeah, so everything is multiple choice. You get like four options. Take your time. There's like 100 questions, I believe, and you get like 2 hours. Just take your time. If you don't know a question, skip it and go back to it. Don't feel like you need to be rushed. Piece of advice, I wouldn't study the day of. I would just study the night before and then take a rest. Let your brain have a break. Because if your brain is too overloaded with all this crap, then you're going to get anxious and your brain won't think properly. So that would be a piece of advice. For anything that I really had trouble understanding or remembering, I made flashcards. If you don't like flashcards, you can use Quizlet. Put it on your phone, so when you have a break at work for 5 minutes, maybe just quiz yourself. But I use flashcards for like work terms I didn't understand, the way the heart works. There's not a lot on there, but you should know that. Like the pulmonary valves, aortic valves, all that. If you don't understand that, if it's tougher for you to know that because you don't have a background, flashcards. They are like my lifesaver. They've always been my lifesaver. I use them for everything. So if you're really having trouble learning something, I highly recommend getting flashcards and just writing it down. This is in every section. Before I moved on to a next section, I always made sure I got a 100, no matter how many times it took to take it. You can take them as many times as you want. I always got 100 before I moved on to the next chapter. Personally, I thought that helped because I kept doing the questions over and over again. Not too many times, because I would pretty much get like an 85 or a 90 my first try. But you take the quizzes before you move on, get a 100, do yourself a favor, it'll help. And then there's a test at the end. I took that test maybe 20 times, and I only started taking it about 2 weeks before I was actually taking the exam. Definitely taking the test as many times. I never aced it, I never got a 100, but I took that and the quizzes over again. Resources, you have the quizzes to take as many times as you want, and you have the test to take as many times as you want. So utilize those resources. Also, for any questions I didn't get right on the test, I wrote down what I thought it was and what it actually was, and then I went back and restudied those items. Common sense study techniques. This is nothing special here. I have no sort of some magic potion to help you pass this test. You have to do the work. You have to put in the work in order to pass it. It's plain and simple. You're not going to pass it easily. Study guide that they give you, make sure to look at this, and basically what's on here is on the test. So really, if you don't know something that's on here, you need to go back and study it. I would just go through and read this. I added some stuff to it, any more information I thought needed to be on here, and then I studied it. So yeah, like I said, you really just have to put the work into it. You need to know everything. Everything might not be on the test, but knowing everything is going to help you in the long run. So don't try to cheat yourself. Don't try to get done this in a month and pass your exam, and then you're doing real life things and you don't know what the answer is, and your client's like, I pay you how much an hour to not know this shit? So easy way out, you're only cheating yourself. You're doing this because you want to learn, you want to become a personal trainer. So make sure you take the time to study. Don't try to do it quick. Don't try to pass it quickly. Actually learn the stuff, because like I said, if you don't, you're only cheating yourself in the long run. You're going to forget everything after you cram it all in 1 month and then not know what you're talking about. So make sure to actually take the time to study and get into it. And that's the best advice I have for you guys. I hope this helps. If you have any more questions, you can put them below and I'll try to answer. There's no magic potion, and I'm sorry I don't have one, but I hope this helps.